शुक्लांबरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये अपारकरुणा सिन्धुं ज्ञानदं शान्तरूपिणं Sri Chandrasekharendra प्रणमामि मुदान्वहम्. The Hindu Dharma, Part 5, the Vedas, Chapter 6, Eternal. It is not possible to tell the age of the Vedas. If we say that an object is anadi, it means that nothing existed before it. Any book, it is reasonable to presume, must be the work of one or more people. The Old Testament contains the sayings of several prophets. The New Testament contains the story of Jesus Christ as well as his sermons. The Quran incorporates the teachings of Prophet Muhammad. The founders of such religions are all historical personalities, and the teachings did not exist before them. Are the Vedas similar the work of one or more teachers? And may we take it that these preceptors lived in different periods of history? 10,000 years ago, or 100,000 or 1,000,000 years ago? If the Vedas were created during any of these periods, they cannot be claimed to be anadi. Even if they were created 1,000,000 years ago, it obviously means that there was a time when they did not exist. Questions like the above are justified if the Vedas are regarded as the work of mortals. And if they are, it is wrong to claim that they are anadi. We think that the Vedas are the creation of the rishis, seers who were mortals. So it is said, at any rate, in the textbook of history we are taught. Also, consider the fact that the Vedas consist of many suktas. Jnana Sambandhar Devaram consists of a number of padigams, and just as each padigam has 10 stanzas, each sukta contains a certain number of mantra. Su plus ukta, sukta. The prefix su denotes good, as in suguna or sulochana. Ukta means spoken or what is spoken. Sukta means well spoken, a good word or a good utterances or well uttered. When we chant the Vedas in the manner prescribed by the Shastras, we mention the name of the seer connected with each sukta, its meter, the deity invoked. Since there are many mantras associated with various seers, we think that they were composed by them. We also refer to the ancestry of the seers concerned, his gotra, etc. For instance, Agastya, Agastyo, Maitra Varunaha, Varunihi. Hari Om. Agastyo Maitra Varunihi. That is Agastya, the son of Mitra Varuna. Here is another. Madhuchanda Vishwamitraha. The sage Madhuchanda, descendant from the Vishwamitra Gotra. Like this, there are mantras in the name of many sages. If the mantra connected with the name of Agastya were composed by him, it could not have existed during the time of Mitra Varuna. Similarly, that in the name of Madhuchanda could not have existed during the time of Vishwamitra. If this is true, how can you claim that the Vedas are anadi? Since the mantras are associated with the names of sages, we make the wrong inference that they must have been composed by them. But it is not so as a matter of fact. Apaursheya means not the work of any man. Were the Vedas composed by one or more human beings, even if they were rishis, they would be called Paursheya. Since they are called Apaursheya, it follows that even the seers could not have created them. If they were composed by the seers, they, the later, would be called Mantrakartas, which means those who created the mantras. But as a matter of fact, the rishis are called Mantradrashtas, those who saw them. When we say that Columbus discovered America, we do not mean that he created the continent. We mean that he merely made the continent known to the world. In the same way, the laws attributed to Newton, Einstein and so on were not created by them. If an object thrown up falls down the earth, it is not because Newton said so. Scientists like Newton perceived the laws of nature and revealed them to the world. Similarly, the seers discovered the mantras and made a gift of them to the world. These mantras had existed before the time of their fathers, grandfathers, great grandfathers, but they had remained unknown to the world. The seers now reveal them to mankind. So it becomes customary to mention their names at the time of intoning them. The publisher of a book is not necessarily its author. The man who releases a film need not be its producer. The seers disclose the mantras to the world, but they did not create them. Though the mantras had existed before them, they performed the noble service of revealing them to us. So it is appropriate on our part to pay them obeisance by mentioning their name while chanting the same. Do we know anything about the existence of the mantras before they were seen by the rishis? If they are eternal, does it mean that they manifested themselves at the time of creation? Were they present before man's appearance on earth? How did they come into being? If we take it that the Vedas appeared with creation, it would mean that the Paramatman created them along with the world. Did he write them down on leave them somewhere to be discovered by the seers later? If so, they cannot be claimed to be Anadi. We have an idea of when Brahma created the present world. There are fixed periods of 4 yugas or eons: Krita, Treta, Dwapara, Kali. The 4 yugas together are called Chaturyuga. 1,000 Chaturyugas make one daytime of Brahma, and another equally long period is his night. According to this reckoning, Brahma is now more than 50 years old. Any religious ceremony is to be commenced with a sankalpa, that is resolve, in which an account is given of the time and the place of its performance, in which such and such a year of Brahma, in such and such a month, in such and such a fortnight, waxing or waning moon, for etc. From this account, we know when the present Brahma came into being. Even if we concede that he made his appearance millions and millions of years ago, he cannot be claimed to be Anadi. How can then creation be said to have no beginning in time? When creation itself has an origin, how do we justify the claim that the Vedas are Anadi? The Paramatman, being eternal, was present even before creation when there was no Brahma. The Paramatman, the Brahman or the Supreme Godhead, is eternal. The cosmos, all sentient beings and insentient objects emerged from him. The Paramatman did not create them himself. He did so through the agency of Brahma. Through Vishnu, he sustains them, and through Rudra, he destroys them. Later, Brahma, Vishnu and Rudra are themselves destroyed by him. The present Brahma, when he becomes 100 years old, will unite with the Paramatman. Another Brahma will appear and he will start the work of creation all over again. The question arises, does the Paramatman create the Vedas before he brings into beings another Brahma? We learn from the Shastras that the Vedas had existed even before creation. In fact, they say Brahma performed his function of creation with the aid of the Vedic mantras. I shall be speaking to you about this later, how he accomplished creation with the mantras manifested as sound. In the passage dealing with the creation, the Bhagavata also says that Brahma created the world with the Vedas. Is this the reason that Brahma created the world with the Vedic mantras? Why it is said that the Vedas are Anadi? Is it right to take such a view on the basis that both the Vedas and Ishwaras are Anadi? If we suggest that Ishvara had produced the scriptures even before he created the world, it would mean that there was a time when the Vedas did not exist, and that would contradict the claim that they are Anadi. If we believe that both Ishvara and the Vedas are Anadi, it would mean that Ishvara could not have created them. But if you believe that Ishvara created them, they cannot be said to be without an origin. Everything has its origin in Ishvara. It would be wrong to maintain, according to this logic, that both Ishvara and the Vedas have no beginning in time. Well, it is all so confusing. what is the basis of the belief that the Vedas are Anadi and we are not created by Ishvara? An answer is contained in the Vedas themselves. In the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad 2.4.10, the Upanishads are all part of the Vedas. It is said that the Rig, Yajus and Sama Vedas are the very breath of Ishvara. The word Nishvasitam is used here. It goes without saying that we cannot live even a moment without breathing. The Vedas are the life birth of the Paramatman, who is eternal living reality. It follows that the Vedas exist together with him as his breath. We must note here that it is not customary to say that the Vedas are the creation of Ishvara. Do we create our own breath? Our breath exists from the very moment we are born. It is the same case with Ishvara and the Vedas. We cannot say that he created them. When Vidyaranya Vamsin when Vidyaranya Swamin wrote his commentary on the Vedas, he prayed to his Guru regarding him as Ishvara. He used these words in the prayer: Yasya Nisvasidam Vedaha, whose, that is Ishvara's, breath constitute the Vedas. The word Nisvasitam occurs in the Upanishads also. Here too it is not stated that Ishvara created the Vedas. The Lord says in the Gita, quote, "It is I who am known by all the Vedas." Vedascha sarvair ahameva vedyah, end quote. Instead of describing as Vedakrit, creator of the Vedas, he calls himself Vedantakrit, creator of the philosophical system that is the crown of the Vedas. He also refers to himself as Vedavit, he who knows the Vedas. Before Vedanta, that enshrines great philosophical truths, had been known to the mankind, the Vedas had existed in the form of sound, as the very breath of Ishvara. They were and are indeed Ishvara, dwelling in Ishvara. The Bhagavata too, like the Gita, does not state that the Lord created the Vedas. It declares that they occurred in a flash in his art and that they came to him in a blaze of light. The word used in this context is spuranam, occurring in the mind in a flash. Now we cannot apply this word to anything that is created anew, anything that did not exist before. Brahma is the primordial sage who saw all the mantras, but it was the Paramatman who revealed them to him. Did he transmit them orally? No, says the Bhagavata. The Paramatman imparted the Vedas to Brahma through his heart. Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaye, says the very first verse of that Purana. The Vedas were not created by the Paramatman. The truth is that they are always present in his heart. When he merely resolved to pass on the Vedas to Brahma, the latter instantly received them, and with their sound he began the work of creation. The Tamil Devaram describes Ishvara as Vediya Vedagita. It says that the Lord keeps singing the hymns of the various shakas or recensions of the Vedas. How are we to understand the statement that the Lord sings the Vedas? Breathing itself is music. Our out breath is called Hamsa Gita. Thus, the Vedas are the music of the Lord's breath. The Devaram goes on wearing this coat, wearing the sacred thread and the holy ashes, and bathing all the time. Ishvara keeps singing the Vedas, in quotes. The impression one has from this description is that the Lord is a great Lord is a great, quote, Ganapathin, end quote. Upper Swamigal refers to the ashes resembling milk applied on the body of Ishvara, which is like choral. He says that the Lord chants the Vedas, sings them, not that he creates or created them. In the Vaishnava Divya Prabandham too, there are many references to Vedic sacrifices, but somehow I do not remember any reference in it to the Lord chanting the Vedas. In the story of Gajendra Moksha told by Pulanidhi Pulavar, a Tamil Vaishnava saint poet, the elephant whose leg is caught in the jaws of the crocodile cries in anguish, Adi Moolame, vocative in Tamil of Adi Moolame, the primordial Lord. The Lord thereupon appears asking, what? The poet says that Mahavishnu, quote, stood before the Vedas, end quote. Vedathin munnindran. According to the poet, the Lord stood in front of the Vedas, not that he appeared at a time earlier than the scriptures. The Tamil for, quote, a man stood at the door, end quote, is, quote, Veetin munnindran, end quote. So, quote, Vedathin munnindran, end quote, should be understood as, quote, he stood at the commencement of all the Vedas, end quote. Another idea occurs to me. How is Perumal, Vishnu or any Vaishnava deity taken in procession? Preceding the Utsava Murti, processional deity, are the devotees reciting the Tiruvaimozhi, and behind the processional duty is the group reciting the Vedas. Here too, we may say that the Lord stood before the Vedas, Vedathin munnindran. In the Vaishnava Agamas and Puranas, Mahavishnu is referred to specifically as Yajna Swarupin, one personifying the sacrifice, and as Veda Swarupin, one who personifies the Vedas. Garuda is also called Veda Swarupa, but none of these texts is known to refer to Vishnu as a creator of the Vedas. It is only in the Purusha Shukta occurring in the Vedas themselves that the Vedas are said to have been born. Ajayate. However, this hymn is of symbolical and allegorical significance and not to be understood in a literal sense. It states that the Paramapurusha, the Supreme Being, was sacrificed as an animal, and that it was in this sacrifice that creation itself was accomplished. It was at this time that the Vedas also made their appearance. How are we to understand the statement that the Paramapurusha was offered as a sacrificial animal? Not in a literal sense. In this sacrifice, the season of spring was offered as an oblation, ahuti, instead of ghee. Summer served the purpose of samitas, fire stick. Autumn was havis, oblation. Only those who meditate on the mantras and become absorbed in them will know their meaning inwardly as a matter of experience. So we cannot construe the statement literally that the Vedas were, quote, born, end quote. To the modern mind, the claim that the breath of Ishvara is manifested in the form of sound seems nonsensical. Also, that is what this sound that Brahma performed his function of creation. But on careful reflection, you will realize that the belief is based on a great scientific truth. I do not mean to say that we must accept the Vedas only if they conform to present day science. Nor do I think that our scripture, which proclaims the truth of the Paramatman, is beyond the reach of science and scientists, ought to be brought within the ken of science. Many matters pertaining to the Vedas may not seem to be in conformity with science, and for that reason they are not to be treated as wrong. But our present subject, how the breath of the Paramatman can become sound and how the function of creation can be carried out with it, is in keeping with science. Hari Om Tat Sat.